Hey everyone, it is Jen, Janine and Felicity from Ready Together, and we have just wrapped up from just the most awesome private group session on sleep with the Ready Together community, and we wanted to do our weekly wrap up of what we talked about. So we talked about, really we focused a lot on sleep under 4 months, so really starting to firstly have some really good knowledge around what your baby is doing in terms of how long they want to be awake, when they go in and out of deep sleep, and learning that pattern of what your individual baby is starting to do. You're learning the lay of the land really in the first 4 months.
What's normal.
And what's normal. So we talked a lot about creating a sleep environment. So while we're not, what we do know is that you can't create a bad habit under 4 months. Absolutely. So don't worry if it works for you. What do you say, Janine?
If it's not a problem for you, it's not a problem.
There you go. Slogan.
Yeah.
Hashtag.
I sort of feel there's a lot of pressure. I don't need to.
Yeah. So if it's not a problem for you, it's not a problem. And so you can do whatever works to get you, particularly the first 6 weeks.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
You are just surviving.
Whatever works.
Whatever gets your baby through, you're giving them as much help as they need to settle and feel safe and secure.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, you're creating this sleep environment. So we talked about your sleepy slogan.
Yeah, well, just the sort of, I suppose, using the layered approach, because some babies need lots of things going on for them to settle, and some babies need just a shh, 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 you know. So it's having that sleepy sentence, so the baby gets that consistent pattern, and they know that, oh, whenever mum says that, over time, not straight away, but building up that consistent pattern of behaviour, so that in time your baby will know that whenever you pick them up and say, shh, 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 sleepy time or night, or whatever your sentence is.
And in conjunction with your wrapping or
and your
white noise and your darkened room.
Yeah.
And all of those things become the rhythm or the cues that start to give that baby the guide. And eventually they kind of
relax into it
as they see those cues. Oh yeah, I know this so well.
Absolutely.
So the other thing we talked about was giving your baby an opportunity to resettle. So sometimes your baby wakes after maybe 5 minutes, and you know that your baby had been awake for a good hour, it's had a really good feed, and your instinct is saying, my baby doesn't want to be awake. So we talked about a few things with that. So firstly, learn to look at your baby and cue in to what your baby is telling you, and you might find your baby still has their eyes shut, and they're saying, I'm actually not ready to wake. And so trust your instincts and think of resettling as an opportunity. You're offering them a dish, and they can decide whether they're going to take it. And you need to give that opportunity for a good 10 to 15 minutes. It can take a while. And we also talked about picking one position and sticking with it. So you might wrap your baby up, put them in this position and do a rock, or you might do it in the cot. You talked about holding their little hand and patting their bottom.
A few things going on. So that little baby is having the feeling of the bed against them, and you might sort of cup their little bottom, and they're lying on their side. You've got their hands, and you're holding their hands on their chest, and that's a very safe position for a baby because they're feeling really contained with that contact. But you want to have it a few different layers, so it's not just you're holding them, because then when you take that away, they really notice that absence. But if you're doing, and you can slow that padding right down,
and then remove one
and
thing,
then take one layer off at a time. So the first one you want to get rid of is the constant one, because that's the first one they notice. But you can keep that shh, 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 shh. You can be over at the door doing that.
I've shushed from behind the door.
Yeah, absolutely. Shh, down the hallway. But the white noise, we did talk a lot about white noise, and we can't really talk about that enough, because it does create a cocoon, doesn't it, around that little person.
And you don't have to have it really loud like you might have used it for a very unsettled baby in the first 6 weeks. You can have it very low. I talked about rain on a river as a good option.
Yeah.
But you can just have that playing really softly in the baby's room. It mutes out the dog barking next door or the doorbell. So all of these things can make a big difference. And I think that was kind of it. that the key stuff?
We do want them to sleep on their little back though. So once if you're settling them on this, you want to lie them, you want to pop
roll them onto their back.
Yeah,
always to the back for sleep. Yeah.
And I think as well, we talked about how, you know, babies are individuals, and it's about these first few weeks and the early, you know, the first 12 weeks absolutely is getting to know, develop. It's a relationship. So it's having time and opportunities to develop that relationship and to see what works for your little one, because some babies need, like I think of it as a ladder when when they're on the top and they're totally losing the plot and they need a lot of help, a lot of support to climb back down that ladder. Yeah. And for some babies, they can jump down a couple of rungs quickly and they calm and they settle quickly. Other babies, they just don't, and they need, a lot of support.
So they need every tool in your toolbox: the wrapping, the rocking, the shushing, the white noise, the dummies, and that's all okay.
And that's okay.
And don't worry that they're going to need all of that forever. Yeah, it's actually just that transition from the womb to earth. And some babies need a lot more assistance than others.
And that's okay. And it's when, you know, friends are saying, "Oh no, I just wrap mine up and pop them into bed," and you're needing to do, you know, 5 or 6 layers of shushing, your repetitive movement and bobbing up, down and sideways. And you're like, oh, there's something wrong.
Or I'm doing too much and creating a habit, but you're not. You're just responding to your baby. Yeah. And on the flip side of that, there are some babies that need less. And that's a really funny one because it can take longer to cue into. And I know with my first baby, it took us a really long time to work out. He actually did want to be placed in his bed and left. He was getting really overstimulated in our arms, and all of that shushing and rocking and patting was too much for him. And so there are some babies where they will kind of tell you, I want a bit less, and maybe they will wake after only 5 minutes and do that cry thing. But if you just go in and just do as little as possible, like just rock the cot, but sort of stay out of their way.
And then just wait
and see if that does the trick. And so it's sort of learning to read those cues of whether you've got that baby that needs to be completely on your chest and they need everything, or whether you've got that baby that wants a little bit of movement or a little bit of noise, but not much else. And it's a bit of a, I guess it's reading your baby, but it's also trial and error, isn't it? You just got to try it and see if it works.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And know that that's
consistency is the key. Yeah. Trying the one thing for long enough to not think, oh, that didn't work last night, I'll do something else, because they really respond to the consistency of doing the same thing
over and over. Yeah. So going forward, it was just such a good group, and we just loved all your questions. And we didn't really get to do as much as we wanted to do of sleep over 4 months. So don't worry,
still to come.
We're going to tackle that next. And we've also got an awesome video with Cheryl, the sleep coach, and we're going to pop that into the group today. So watch out for that. She's awesome, and there's some really good tips from her in that as well. So until next time, thanks everybody for joining us. We're just absolutely loving the groups.
Yeah, thank you. It's great.
Bye. Bye.